Hello, and welcome to the As You Are podcast. My name's Leslie Vanderganst. I'm the founder of Enso Coaching and Consulting. I'm here with a few of our coaches, Kathleen and Libby, and we have the amazingly beautiful, talented, wonderful Haley Patterson with us to talk a little bit about her role at Red Oak Hope. Haley.
Very gleaming way to start.
Well,
right?
you know,
beautiful, talented,
you
all those
are
things.
all of the things.
Yes.
I believe that's your full name too, right?
Yeah.
We all shall refer to you as the beautiful.
Really
talented is
not
my middle
off-putting
name.
way to describe yourself when you run a program in a nonprofit.
Well, tell us a little bit about Red Oak Hope.
Yeah, so we are an organization. We've been around since 2012 that serves survivors of sexual exploitation. So we do that. Our hope is to see freedom, hope, and restoration for individuals who are, walking out of the life or having been trafficked or sexually exploited. We have several programs, one in Austin. That's the program that I'm the director of. And then we have 2 international programs, one in Asia and one in Uganda.
Wow. And then, so tell us a little bit about your role and what you're doing here in Austin.
Yeah. So I'm the director of our Austin programs. And that's it.
End of story.
And done. Our Austin program, so I came on staff with Red Oak in, officially in 2016, my first trip overseas to visit the work we were doing. We started overseas in Asia. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where our roots are. I visited there in 2015, I think. If that's wrong, it's a number.
Sure.
Yeah. I already warned you about stats. And left my career working as a speech language pathologist and decided I want to do this thing, and was serving as our stateside director. So I worked here and traveled overseas and was largely just supporting the work that was happening overseas, and kind of from that vantage point saw that there was a huge need here in Austin for support for survivors here. And specifically adults, there's a real, just like a lack of resources across the board for individuals who've been trafficked, but there's a really tinier number of people working with adults. And so we stepped into the transitional housing space in it's a number. I'm panic. 5 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
And started running a transitional home that has capacity for 4 women. We work with mamas, so sometimes we have kiddos in the house, and have been running that program and growing that program. So while we only work with 4 women in our transitional home, where we provide case management, relational support, life skills, training, connection to resources. We try not to operate in the silos. So we've built a lot of relationships with other orgs in Austin that are doing really, really great work, that are either working specifically with survivors of trafficking, or maybe they're working with the unhoused population, but offer a lot of resources. So we kind of piecemeal programs together for the individuals. We call them friends, so I'll probably refer to them as friends.
Yeah.
For our friends, just to meet their specific needs. It's a very individualized, very collaborative, creative program, which I love. And because we've been around for 5 years, we have continued to serve individuals that have either moved out of our program for one reason or another. So we're working with maybe more 10 to 15 people in the community at any given time.
Wow.
As well. And that's through relational support still, like I said. And then we do quite a bit of crisis intervention and stabilization. So we've kind of realized that the thing that would happen before our program that would help somebody come out of trafficking and or an abusive, unsafe situation, maybe kind of chronic homelessness, into a program like ours is missing. So there's not really a place for them to go right when they're ready to leave. And kind of the reality is you got to be ready right then. Mm-hmm. And so we do a lot of, again, creative kind of collaborative work to get our friends in safer situations so that they can either move into a program like ours, or we help them identify another place they can go. So that's our Austin staff. There are 4 of us, and so I'm the director of that program, and then have a friend, Heather Moga, who is our program development person. We hate that title. One time, Leslie helped me try to think of a better title, and neither of us can remember what it is, but we're going to give her a better title.
Great.
Because she really does a whole lot more than that, and that's a weird name.
Yeah.
So,
And then talented and beautiful Haley.
Yeah.
Much better name.
She deserves much better than that. But then we have a wonderful social worker, Emily West, who serves as our case manager, and an amazing, I'm going to give them all a word, an amazing woman named Heidi Moga, who does, her title is residential coordinator, but what that really means is she's like the life skills day-to-day support, because the reality is most of our friends have not had somebody side by side with them who's like helping them figure out how to use a washing machine. I'm not sure why that was my only example, but that is like really a need.
Right.
And
thinking about something that a lot of people might assume is basic knowledge, but it's like, that's not actually basic knowledge.
It's not. It's not at all. And so, I love this team, grateful for them, and we do a lot of wild, weird, and great things together.
Yes.
One of the things that Red Oak does is that, they're looking at holistic care, which is really amazing. What are some of the reasons, or like why was that an approach that you guys wanted to take as you were kind of developing this program?
Yeah. So clearly, like the bedrock, I guess, of what we do is housing, which is just foundational to being able to think about, like, if you think like of the hierarchy of needs, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you need housing and your basic needs met before you can do anything else. And so that is the base of what we do. But what we have found is we're just not siloed individuals with like one or two or three or four needs. Like looking at like education kind of in a vacuum doesn't actually help our friends know how to navigate the bus system, or like being or like talking about how I'm going to get a job and and budget when I haven't even like established what kind of care may I need for like my psychological health and my emotional health. It's just like those things, only addressing them as one issue or another issue without actually thinking about like the whole person. It's just looking at the whole person.
Yeah.
And the reality is we're working with adults, so they have a lot of agency over what they want to do, right? Like we are definitely trying to shift the paradigm that they're used to, which is high control, or like lack of access, and give them a whole lot of space to identify like what they may need in a different area, but also like gently, you coaches, like help them see where like something may be connected. And so it's a lot of like, okay, so you've shared with me that you're not sleeping at night and school is hard. Like what may be actually impacting your success in school is your sleep, and where's that coming from, and what do you want to try there? And so it's really just a lot of like trying to help people see that they are whole individual humans that have a lot of complex needs, and addressing, like I said, one thing or another without looking at the whole person really leads to just not great outcomes. Like we see that, we just see that the reality of re-exploitation is so high in this population anyways. And so like helping individuals really while they're with us, for as long as they're with us, whether that's like a day or hopefully a year and a half or more, like recognize more about who they are and build insight into who they are and connect them to community resources so that long past our relationship, they're still able to like think about, oh yeah, like one time I tried this one thing and it really helped me sleep. And when I was sleeping, I actually did X, Y, or Z a lot more safely or better. And they'll just draw on that hopefully in the future.
It's amazing.
I feel like one of the things, this is more philosophical, but when thinking about a person, if you're not looking at them holistically, it's then all the more likely that you're going to make assumptions along the way, right? So it's like if you're only seeing like one or two pieces and only addressing those one or two pieces, of course you're making assumptions to fill in the rest of the gaps. So like all the more in that holistic, that it's like a deeper understanding, and then I think better able to address then those needs in a way that's much more open.
Yeah, and like the reality is our demographic that we're serving is individuals, like one part of their identity, whether is that they've been, a thing that has happened to them is that they've been trafficked, right? But like that may not be the hardest thing they've walked through,
Right.
and it may not be the most limiting thing that they are experiencing. The reality is the things that made them vulnerable in the first place are actually still at play now with this added like multiple layers of more complex trauma. And so, you know, while we're working with individuals that have experienced sexual exploitation, maybe a intellectual disability is actually something that is the most limiting factor for them, predominantly because they have never explored that in a safe way. Maybe nobody has ever like said, hey, have you considered this? Or maybe they've never had access to like accurate diagnoses. And so like we're helping them just know themselves a little bit better.
Yeah.
And like they're teaching us a lot about who they are at the same time. And again, not telling them, hey, this is the way then to success.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, what do you actually want? And how can we help you get there? And the process is going to be a little painful at times because the slow
what
baby
they've been through
hard.
also.
Yeah.
like steps are
Right.
hard.
Right. We talk a lot about that. We actually had that conversation earlier just around, you know, how unique individuals are, and this one size fits all approach doesn't necessarily work or actually help move the needle, but like really that customized approach to what an individual needs and exploring and being curious is what can actually help make somebody move or transition them.
Absolutely.
When you think about, you know, the work that you guys are doing, I have two questions, but I'm going to ask the first one. Like what is a success for you guys? Because I can't imagine, like, again, with just the multifaceted nature of the work that you're doing, it's probably coming at a number of different waves. But like, how do you say, okay, we did good work and that feels like a success for us?
Yeah. I think I'm going to first not answer your question.
I'm familiar. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm going to answer what often people want success for us to look like. People really want to know, you know, how many people have you worked with this year? Well, for us, we have a home that can fit 4 women, right, at any given time. So if we were working with like 800 people, something would be like terribly wrong with our program. Because people would be cycling out in and out, you know, like there are all these metrics for what does it really look like to have success in an industry where we expect, similar to the recovery world, we expect that relapse is going to happen. We expect that people are going to go through this like very understandable cycle of relapse and then like moving through kind of these stages of change, right? And so we think it's success when we're able to actually continue to engage with a person across like the entire continuum of recovery. Like though they may relapse, that they're still willing to like reach out, because like the reality is people, and when I say relapse, I mean both back into substance use and or into sexual exploitation. So like kind of, you know, the both and. The reality is that like that recovery journey is long. I had a friend, she's like a brilliant person in this field named Sarah Hall. Shout out to her, who did a training for our staff one time, and she is a survivor leader, and she shared that like the recovery journey, a lot of people like talk about cycles, right? And so instead of it just being like this flat cycle, that it's an ellipses? Is that something that keeps going? Or like a stairwell?
Yeah,
or a
sure.
spiral
So
staircase?
spiral staircase.
Yes.
That also.
Oh man, she did this better. But like that, though you may relapse, everything that you learn in recovery and maintaining recovery, like builds on itself. And then eventually it's maintenance, but like that it's this moving upward. So like everything isn't lost.
That you're
when
not
you
starting back at the
Totally.
which is how people often think of it. And we've seen that in our relationship with people. And we've had to really learn to celebrate like the tiny things. So like right before I got here, Heather texted me that one of our clients who in our morning staff meeting, it was like, she's going to come for budget. Here's what, we're working on. And we were worried she wasn't going to show up. And then it was like she showed up and she did this thing and we downloaded Mint on her phone. And that is such a victory.
Yeah.
No, and it's just like recognizing that victory.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like such an adamant believer in recognizing and celebrating any victory because it is so easy to get disheartened and beaten down. And like, I'm going to get emotional. I especially feel like when you are speaking in circumstances where it's like relapse will very likely happen. And holding that truth right alongside the like downloading Mint is also an accomplishment. Like you being here right now is huge. Like let's celebrate it. And I think we all need that no matter what our backstory is. Also, just that it's like we all need to have those wins and we all need to celebrate that like it's tough being a human.
Yes.
Humaning is hard.
Humaning is hard. I wish someone would like follow behind me and be like, well, I don't actually.
I was
I'm an introvert.
I'm ready for you. I'm ready.
But like
the beautiful, talented.
I dropped my daughter off at school on time today.
Yeah. There you go.
But we all do really need to like be able to celebrate the things
in your day.
Absolutely.
Which then gives us buy-in to have the harder conversations where it's like, hey, sis, here's what I'm hearing you say about what you want, and here's what I'm seeing is happening. Like, there's a discrepancy. Can you help me understand that? And it gives us more, like, relational, whatever the word I'm looking for is, but, like, buy-in and just
trust
kind of reciprocal.
Like,
reciprocity. What is that word?
Reciprocity. Yeah.
Yes. To be able to have the harder conversations because they do happen.
Yeah,
like that's also a huge part of what we do.
Right. I think it's like getting a chance to show and not tell that you're on someone's side. If you've been with them, they're like celebrating those small moments that like, then I know if you tell me something that's difficult, that's not the only thing I hear from you, that it's like we have another dynamic and I will continue to associate you also with those positive things.
Yeah.
That's good.
And trust and transparency like are just really important kind of in that so that like when I celebrate someone, it's not like, oh, good job.
Totally.
You did a great job. But like, hey, you showed up for that. That's like a huge thing.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate it. And finding, which then requires that our staff be incredibly healthy.
Yeah.
So that was going to be the second question. So you were, I know, look at
Oh.
you.
Yes.
She knew, prepared.
It's like you were prepared.
It's like somebody sent me the question.
I wonder who.
Although, I don't know.
I know I've been going
this has
rogue.
been very
It's just girl
organic.
girl hour.
Girl hour.
We're just four girls chatting.
In our autumn wear.
That's right.
Well, so you were talking about some of the things that you are learning and that they're learning about themselves in this process of the conversations and what you guys are going through. What is it that you learn or are learning about yourself through this? Because I can't imagine the like, I mean, it's hard. These are hard conversations. This is not like, oh, did we make the P&L this week?
Yeah.
Like this is like a human's
Your
life.
spreadsheet is off.
Yeah, exactly.
Heather Mocha really cares about spreadsheets. So she will tell me what my spreadsheet is.
It's true. We all need a Heather in our lives. And, and the spreadsheets are obviously very important.
Sure, the spreadsheets are important. Okay,
sure.
Shout out to
don't
spreadsheets.
I am not downplaying the need
any
for really good spreadsheets.
people out there, it's important.
And the work, this is like human work, and these are human lives, and these are human experiences that are tragic. And so what, A, what have you learned about yourself in this process? And then B, how do you like manage yourself as you're kind of going through these like really difficult things with these people?
Yeah. I feel like, the first part of that is just that being really like willing to look at myself and being really willing to look at maybe my areas of need to explore deeper. Like I definitely like any past hurts, harms, traumas that I've experienced, like I've had to address them.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't address them, I started to notice them coming up at work. Like somebody says something to me and I have like an internal reaction And that's not about my friend that has said something to me. It's about me and something that I need to like examine. So just a lot of like willingness. It's not like, okay, you have to be this picture of health and then now you're ready to do this job. It's just the journey of being in process and willing to look at that and willing to have like a staff culture where you're able to say like, hey, are you okay? Do you maybe want to like take a walk before you have that conversation?
Yeah.
I'm speaking about myself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm sure my staff.
They're like, yeah, we had a conversation with her. Yeah.
And yeah, like recognizing what I need to recharge, recognizing what boundaries I need to draw. I mean, I went from like basically being on call 24/7 when I first started this job to being like, man, that's not sustainable and is not going to make me a healthy person in this job. And then like us developing structure around both the job and then just around staff care. Like our CEO, Addie, she really, really, really has built out a culture of staff care. And that's something like in our program that I'm very conscious of and very thoughtful about, like, where might you need to flex if this was a hard week? Where, how might you please use your work hours for counseling? Like, and we provide like a stipend for counseling for our staff and just really try to live out the things that we're also like talking to our friends about and being really open about that with them as well.
I was just, sorry.
Yeah,
it's
go
making
ahead,
me
please.
think too, when we're talking about trust that's going both ways, I think being able to see that like you're living the values, you're living what you say you want, and that for the friends, how impactful that is, that it feels much more sincere than when you're saying it back because you're living it.
Right.
And like a willingness to say, man, I screwed that up. Like to our friends all the time. Like, hey, here's what I said I was going to do, and this is how I did it. I wish I would have done this, but I just want you to know this about who you are and like what I'm doing because, that went away. And I feel like that's true. I mean, they observe that between our staff, like too. So there have been times when something was funky between, a couple of staff, probably me. And so also, the most Emily and I are both very empathetic, but I'm just intense. And so like where I'm like, hey, this hurt my feelings, or hey, where we're actually like living out, talking about the thing and talking it out and resolving conflict in front of each other. And so, and then just like personally for me, I've learned like where I really need to have the downtime and where I really need silence, because it's like a very people heavy job. And then, I have 2 small kids at home. And so like the struggle can be real. And so figuring out where I need to counterbalance to be healthy and show up authentically.
It's good.
Wow.
I have a question. I'm going to turn the bus a little bit.
Turn the bus.
Oh, yes.
I want to go back to when you started off, you talked about that you started as a speech pathologist and now you are, helping our friends in human trafficking. And how did that?
Yeah.
I was wondering the same thing.
Talk to me about that. I mean, just as we all help people kind of through these transitional phases of career and life, and that's such a big change. And what drove you for that change?
Yeah. It was a wonky, messy change. Yeah. For sure. So
all the good ones
really,
are.
Yes.
I deeply loved, I worked at the Children's Hospital here in Austin, and I really, really loved, I was trying to think if there's more than one. I worked at Dell Children's Hospital.
Name drop.
Name name.
But I loved it. Like I loved doing what I did. I just felt really called to like check this organization out.
Yeah.
I heard Addie speak at like a young adult group thing for a church, and I was like, man, I really like this. I knew nothing about human trafficking. I liked something about what she said, like struck really deep with me. And so I like explored it and flew across the world to explore it and felt like, this is what I want to do, having zero background in it. But I like feel very deeply that this is, where I want to be. And so everyone basically thought I was nuts. And I remember being like, I probably am a little nuts. Like, I paid a lot of money to become a speech therapist. And this is a very big shift. And at the time, I remember people asking, like, so are you going to, like, do speech therapy with people who have experienced trafficking? And being like, that is crazy. Like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to go do whatever they need me to.
Yeah.
And now, however many years, almost 8 years later, can say, I actually am definitely using skills as a speech
so there's
therapist.
crossover.
Transferable skills.
It's like a very integrated thing. But then it really wasn't, because it was hard. And there are several years before the Austin program where I was doing a lot of stuff way out of my comfort zone, like spreadsheets and throwing.
Who knew this was going to be so spreadsheet heavy?
But
this is the one.
It was way out of my comfort zone. It's like any small grassroots nonprofit or business, you're kind of doing a lot. You're wearing a billion hats. You're doing all kinds of things. And then there were the parts, of course, that I was like, oh yeah, this resonates. And the parts where I was like, this doesn't. But it's needed for now. And so there was a lot of having to figure out what about this did actually drew me to it. Like, why am I here and what do I love so much? And then really it's been sweet, I'd say, over the last, a couple of years as our Austin program has become really sustainable. I feel like we have had the appropriate number of staff for a while. And to be like, oh, I see. Like, I see how my heart for, like, my deep compassion for people, my work with individuals with disabilities, because all of our clients have one or more disabilities, really. And so, like, that piece alongside just working collaboratively on a team, like, has come together to now be this career that I really, really love. But it took a long time. And so just the patience and the willingness to be like, what about this is really important to me, and what may I just be doing for now, and what do I really need to let go of? And, like, shout out to you guys / my coach, Leslie. I've been working with Leslie for a year, and I feel like she's really helped me see, like, kind of that next step, which is, what does it mean to lead in this space and lead as me? Because I definitely the culture of our organization and, like, how I engage with people, it is like anything that feels like a power something or hierarchy makes me really uncomfortable. And so I was like, I'm not a leader. Like, I'm like,
leader.
It's just somebody. It's somebody needed to be the director. It's me. But it's not really me. And, like, she's just helped me grow and, like, confidence in that too. So I feel like it's been, now at this point, a 7.5, 8 year process of, like, transitioning out of a job, moving into a new space, figuring out what about that in that new space did I really love, and then also helping move the mission forward, just like, which is, that's the sweet part of being on a team is like, you are filling a lot of different roles, but to land in a space where I'm like, oh, it's like, this job was meant to be mine. But it took a lot of work to get
was
there.
not like a clear path.
No. And so in the messiness, it can feel a little like, what's
happening?
Well, we don't know anything about that.
I know.
We have a very clear path.
It's just so easy right now.
Just straight and narrow.
I also feel like that element of it feels like this is the right position for you, that so much of that, building off of what's already been said, is because you've made it to be the right position for you, right? Like, it wasn't that it was there and then, like, here you come and you magically fit into it. Like, you are what makes it the right position.
It's probably true.
Well, I think so many people wait for this opportunity this magical opportunity to like fall from the sky and fall in their lap. But so much of it has to do with, you figuring out, back to, all of the things that we've talked about before and we talked about earlier, is figuring out what your values are and what you bring to the table, and then designing a role that fits around your values and what you want to do, rather than just waiting for something to magically
Nothing that's worthwhile isn't going to cause some heartache, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Nothing that's worthwhile, right?
Right.
The other thing, and I remember hearing someone in recruiting saying this,
Don't
that
listen
it's
to
like, no, that it's like, you don't ever want to go for the things you're the 100% perfect fit for, because it means you won't necessarily have any space to grow.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you're not waiting for the perfect role to fall from the sky, because then, that's probably not for who you are as a person anyways. At the end of the day, you're someone who challenges yourself. And so that it's like something that you can grow with.
Yes.
Especially as it sounds like with how long you've been with the company.
Yeah.
And the organization is probably a better choice of words there.
Either way.
The place. And its own journey here in Austin as well, where it sounds like you have been hugely instrumental in shaping what that growth looks like.
Yeah, I think the journey is super uncomfortable, right? And that's like the thing that we can always relate with our friends on, because the journey, like being in process, sucks.
Yes.
But it is life. You are always in process. Like you don't arrive to this one magical moment.
There's no
where things are done. And so like, what does it look like to hold that with other people while still like recognizing that that's like a journey you're on? And I feel like that, I mean, if anything, our friends have definitely made me a healthier person, and they've definitely made me appreciate being in process and on the journey more than I ever would have probably in any other industry. I don't know what else to say.
I mean, it's how lucky to be on a journey. Like how lucky to.
Yeah. Well, so when you're thinking about the organization right now and what you're doing, like what's the biggest challenge that you guys face on a day-to-day basis? What's the hardest thing?
Well, I was going to say that one budget meeting.
No.
No,
Heather's going to kill you.
Yeah.
She's going to be like, not the budget.
Not the budget. Let's see. Honestly, I think it's our current, so the need is huge. We're working in a space where the need is huge. The numbers of individuals being trafficked, like what was recognized 10 years ago to now, it's just like, it's a relatively new, like the anti-trafficking organization kind of movement is relatively new. And it's a crime that happens in secret, right? So like as more awareness around the issue comes, recognition that the need is like vast, increases. And so the need is huge. And the work that we're doing, like in our Austin program, what I'll say is that our culture between, our staff is just really healthy. And it's one that they and we have together kind of created. And it is like so deeply important to me, because the work we do, we choose to go really, really, really deep with like a few people. And there's need in this like field for all kinds of different types of organizations that serve, from a few to like many, many, many with, maybe more staff, but maybe not shallower, but like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like provide maybe less services to a larger number of people.
Like a more immediate need.
Yes.
So like a meal.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And so they may like engage with a lot more people. And there's need for that. And there's need for programs like ours that go really, really deep with a few. And so because of the work that we're doing and how relationally based it is, I feel like we are going to grow. We need to grow. Like we want to grow, but we want to scale at a really healthy pace. And so I think the issue, and this is one of the things I've been talking to Leslie about a lot in coaching, is like the issue of how to scale and how to scale well. The Southern accent came out. It's Libby. I saw Libby and thought,
I'm just a Southern belle. That's me.
But truly, like how to scale with health is really, I think, is going to be our biggest challenge, and is our biggest challenge as we think about it.
Yeah.
Right now we have our transitional housing program. We are actively moving towards opening up a larger facility that is a 10-bed facility, a stabilization, an emergency shelter and stabilization center, kind of that missing piece I was telling y'all about, like that would happen before a program like ours in Austin that just doesn't exist. And so we will be moving towards a larger project. And as we do that, are like having to build on our staff and start hiring more people. And yeah, that is going to be a 24/7 facility. So there will be a lot more staff in terms of our tiny staff that we have now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just really how to do that with a lot of health and a lot of integrity to just the vision and, like you guys mentioned before, the values that we have as a team. So that's what keeps me up at night. Yeah.
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 I'm just sorry. I just like, there's so many wonderful things you're saying, and it's activating all this inside of my brain as well when thinking about the parallels between growing of the organization and, of course, the friends in it, that it is like we aren't racing to get to the next step. Instead, we're very intentional about getting to the next step.
Yes.
And like with that intentionality, it's all the more sustainable and strong for it, so that it's like, take the time that's needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the people will always want you to do more if
you do well.
if you're doing, like if you're doing good work. And I'm really proud of our team. We really like care about people, and we have, and that is true both of like our relationship with the individuals in the home and like outside of the home that we work with, but also with community partners. Like Heather has helped build really, really great relationships with individuals that work across like multiple different agencies. And we sit on the Central Texas Coalition Against Human Trafficking.
That's a mouthful.
It
That's
is
a big one.
Yeah.
And, that's in large part because of Heather and just our like faithfulness to keep showing up and engaging with people who are kind of like, who are y'all? What are y'all doing? I don't know. I'm not sure about you yet. And then just, over 5 years, like showing that we will care for people well. And we may not always be the right answer for an individual, but we will definitely work to help them find a good, solution if there's a need. So all that to say, I don't remember how I got on that tangent. But
sustainable growth.
Sustainability, yes. So like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Still don't know how I got there, but
just showing
it's
up.
important.
You said you were showing up. You're showing up every day, and you're showing up to the people outside, but also inside the organization.
Still not ringing a bell, but I feel good about it.
Showing up as you are.
Showing
As
up
you
as
are. What else do you want people to know about Red Oak?
Well, that we're here, that we exist in Austin. That we, our CEO and one of our other international directors, Jack, she lives here as well. And so we have like a small but mighty team here in Austin that is doing work here and around the world. We definitely are always looking to engage with people who are like excited about this kind of thing or just want to know more about it. Like we deeply care about people learning more about not just how they can support Red Oak, but like what does the issue look like? How can individuals like make an impact from where they are, like in their own business or in their own, sphere of influence, like for these friends. And really it's a like trafficking is a fancy word like that people get kind of excited about. But the reality is we're like working at the intersection of so many different issues. We're working at the intersection of like being unhoused and foster care because foster youth are very, very vulnerable and all kinds of like, at the intersection of like disability rights and racism and gender-based violence. So like we get to engage with a lot of really great organizations because of those intersections. And like, it's probably a lot closer to people's hearts than they think just because of the vulnerability factors that make someone that would contribute to somebody being trafficked. So I feel like that we exist is important, that we're here in Austin. We are always looking for more money. We're a nonprofit. So people feel compelled. But also just to learn more, like please reach out. Our website is, can I say?
Please.
I don't know. I thought I was on the news for a second or something. I got nervous.
Come out and support.
It's www.redoakhope.org. And my email is Haley at redocope.org if you have any questions. We also have an info at. If you want a better answer, I'd go to info at redocope.org, just if you're curious about general stuff. But we're here. We really deeply care about our friends and the work that we get to do alongside them.
And this like growth to this transitional house is the transitional housing is big. Like the ask is big. The things that you guys need.
It's exponential budget growth for us. Yeah, we're looking at millions of dollars. And so definitely we'll be moving towards getting that money so that we can open, because the need is now, while also recognizing that we will stair step. We're already trying to figure out how we can configure our current property to have an emergency bed for next year so that we do have that resource for the community. Just we're going to keep doing it, and we would love to share more about it.
Blows my mind every time you talk about it. It's like amazing that you do this work all the time. So I'm just super proud. Yeah.
And amazing too that like, again, gosh, I'm like crying over here. That you chose to take this huge chance in shifting industries. And it sounds like because it was something you were so compelled towards. That's really incredible that you've done that and that you're helping as many people as you are.
Yeah.
And like, it's a hopeful part of, I feel like, this story and the journey, right? For anybody that's in transition, you just don't know. Like I would have laughed. I mean, I did. I laughed at people's faces when they'd be like, "Are you going to use that master's degree in what you're going to do speech there?" I was like, "No, that's ridiculous." And it's what I do all the time now. And so it's just sweet to see like, oh, this is what it feels like to use different gifts, right? In a space that there's need. And so like, keep walking, people.
Yeah, that there's a reason for all of it.
Yeah, keep walking.
Well, that also we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know what's going to happen.
No idea.
And I think being open to that is like opportunity for a rich life. If you're telling yourself that it's going to look one way, then it probably won't happen. But if you have the like, I'm going to see what comes up, and I'm going to, again, we keep returning to values always. That's like, I can have my values guide me. I don't know what's going to happen, but so long as I hold on to those, I trust that where I end up is going to be something that really speaks to who I am.
Well, thank you, Haley.
Thank you,
Haley.
Haley. I'm just gonna like start flipping, sobbing over here.
The work is hard, but you're doing an amazing job, and like you guys are just blow my mind all the time. So
thank you.
Get your money to Haley and the
yes, please. Oh my God.
Yes. Help that transitional housing. That's just amazing. So anyway, well, thank you so much. redocope.org to learn more information.
And
yes. And thank you for joining us again on another episode of As You Are, the podcast. And we are Enso Coaching and Consulting. You can visit us at ensocc.com. And please subscribe to the podcast, and we will...
They're the best.
See you soon.
We'll see you soon.
We will see you soon.
Yes.
And as always, come as you are.